Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today we're going to show you how to use the Contax T2 camera. This is a premium point and shoot camera, and honestly it can be used very simply, but it also has quite a few little bells and whistles that you can maybe want to learn when you first pick one up. This one does have one thing that's broken, as you can see, is the body should have a cover, but it's stuck in here, and I'm not going to fix it because it works fine with me as is. Also has a bit of a burnt flash, but this doesn't really affect the use of the flash because it just happens over time on some of these T2s. So let's start with the camera. First of all, this camera is a 35mm point and shoot, and it uses batteries. So it uses a CR123A, and I'll leave a link below, but basically it goes on the bottom here. Use a coin like a 5 cent, 20 cent, 100 yen, whatever you think, to change the battery. This one already has a battery. So that is for the battery. Second, it does use 35mm film. So it uses canisters that can have 36 to 24 exposures. It will shoot 36, 37 shots on the 36 and 25, 26, maybe 27 on the 24 exposure. It also does read the DX code, which means it reads this code to determine the ISO. So you have to use DX code. If not, it will default to ISO 100 like this film. But yeah, it shoots with black and white film, color negative, and side film if you need to. So I'll put the links also to the how to load it and so on, and because I'm not going to show you in this video. So let's start with the top menu. In the top menu, we see there's a little wheel here, which now is off. Then we have AF, which means autofocus. This is an autofocus camera. When we hit it a little bit, it would focus and take a shot. Half press will, this is the shutter button basically, half press will make it focus and also lock exposure, and then full press all the way will take a picture. So it won't, as you can see, that took a picture, and we actually have some film inside. But basically AF means it focuses on its own. It does have a little point in the middle, which you can see through the viewfinder here. That is where it would focus. It focused basically in that little circle. Then we also have the option for manual settings, or manual focus, sorry, and we keep on turning. So now we are at infinity. Then we have something as in 5 meters, 2 meters, 1 meter, 0.7 meters. This means that whenever we take a picture, it's already focused at that distance, so we don't have to have that guessing game of like, do I focus lock and then recompose? You can have it at 0.7, but of course you will have to know that distance when you're shooting, but it works fine. And then let's lock it back to AF, which is there, and that's ready. Then we have self timer here, which means we push it forward, click the button, and when we click the button, it basically will blink here, and we'll probably get a blink inside when it's going to take a picture, probably 10 seconds. That is the self timer, which is here. Then here to the left, we have the frame counter, which is on frame number 8, and this is the exposure compensation dial. This is really important if you want to push film, pull film, change the ISO, and you don't have a DX code, or if you're shooting something with a backlit situation or a front lit situation. So this, you basically just have to turn it sideways towards one way or the other, and you can't see it very well, but here there's a little indicator on this window, so we can have half a stop more, 1 stop more, 1.5 stops plus 2, and then we can also go the other way around towards the negative and go all the way to -2. So this is great depending on the shooting situation, because the light meter is in the center where you're taking a shot with the camera. So you can like lock and also recompose for exposure, but maybe the exposure on the lock is too bright and you want to give it less light, or vice versa. So this is exposure compensation. This is also the way that you can actually hack the ISO. So if you are shooting 400 speed and you underexpose 2 stops, you're pushing basically to 1600. And if you want to pull the other way around, you also can put 400 speed, overexpose 2 stops, and you're giving it basically ISO 100. So yeah, basically something like that. Data back, I'm not going to say anything, but to load the film, basically you click pushing here, load a roll, and it starts loading. Then on the bottom, we have the rewind. So if we are shooting a roll and suddenly we're like, oh my God, I'm going out into the sun, there's too much light. This is 3200 speed film. You can rewind and load another roll, but do remember the leader will be inside the canister. You have to pull the leader out later. And basically that's all for the camera. That has a strap here on the side. And this strap is the original one. Usually strap manufacturers from these cameras used to be the minimum distance. So this is probably 0.7 meters, which means you could pull the strap to someone and that would be, or an object, and that would be the minimum distance. I could be here, let's say, and boom, pull the strap and be the light meter is in focus. On the front, the lens, which is basically the most coolest thing about this camera. We have aperture settings, so let's go through them. 2.8 actually indicates the aperture 2.8, but it is a misconception that it will shoot always at 2.8. This camera, as you can see, it's on green. That is the basically AE, aperture, it does the auto exposure features. So it will change the aperture. It will try to prioritize 2.8, but if there's too much light, it will automatically stop down the lens to like f16 or anything that it needs. But it will try to prioritize to 2.8. If the max shutter speed of this camera is 1/500th, if it is too bright, it will stop down the exposure at 2.8. It won't do that at f4. So if you have it at f4, it will always shoot at f4. And you can go all the way to f16. So you can shoot at f16 if you need so. You also have flash settings. You have double flash, which means a pre-flash, and then a flash for red-eye reduction, and then a always flash on for just always flash. So that is how you shoot. Also, inside the frame, basically window, there's certain indication. There's one orange one, there's one that says LT, which would be like long time. So there's very little light. You need a tripod. Tripod screw is on the bottom. And also it can blink the 500th, which means there's too much light. So it probably is recommending you please stop down. So if you're at f4 and you're trying to shoot and you see the blinking light at 500th, you should maybe stop down to 5.6 or f8. So just so you know. Also, it has two different frame lines. So it has like a frame line and then one that's a little close. That's like discontinued lines. The normal frame line is infinity and usually 3-5 meters. And then the other one is if you're very, very close to the subject. So 0.7 distance. So that is how you focus and compose if you're trying to be very accurate on the point and shoot. It has auto exposure and like auto advance and auto rewind. So it's a very simple camera to use. But if you're really trying to like get fast out there and start shooting, I recommend you just turn it on. You put it at 2.8 and go have fun. This is basically what you want to do with a point and shoot. But this camera does have more bells and whistles that let you use it in different situations that maybe others cameras don't. It doesn't have a filter thread on the front, but there are, if I'm not mistaken, some adapters. And it actually probably meters light from that little window there. So make sure that you don't cover that when you're shooting. So yeah, that's how you use the Contax T2. This is one of the most hyped point and shoot cameras. It is great when there's anything you want to shoot and you want to have some settings, but there are many other point and shoots that are great too. So if you just got one or someone loaned you one, this is a video for you. Like I said, this one is broken in the sense that it doesn't cover, but it should be covered. It's all made in titanium. It has some bells and whistles that are very nice, but don't worry too much about other point and shoots. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. This is intended for those picking up the camera for the first time or for the first time after a long time and so on. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.